What is the funding process like at the Investor's Edge? So you found a deal and now you're wondering what happens once I get that deal under contract to actually closing on that deal. And what does that process look like with the Investor's Edge? Well, luckily we have a 7-step funding process. We'll go through that in detail and let you know every step along the way. Let's do it. The first thing that's going to happen is step one is you're going to do a funding request. That funding request is going to require you that you have some comparables to justify the value, as well as going through and supporting the work that needs to be done on the property. Now, the good news is we have softwares on both of those for you. So we have our advanced deal analysis that actually says, here's the comps in this area. What do we have? Where are those? You can sort them and you can pull those as comparables and say, these are the comparables that I'm using to justify the value I think I'm going to get for this property. The great thing is you have access to the public records, the MLS. You can do the search range. You can look at the maps. You can sort by bedrooms and bathrooms and sold status and everything else and look through these and get a really good idea what's happening with the relevant comps. So that's the first step is you've got your relevant comps on what you think you're going to sell it for. You're also going to estimate the rehab. And the rehab, we have a rehab calculator that you can do this by coming in, search by popular projects, put the information in, and that's going to give you an idea as to what the cost is going to be to rehab it. Now, that doesn't mean that's going to be the exact cost, just like your comps doesn't mean that's really what it's going to sell for, but it's a good way to get started of saying, okay, this is a good starting point for us, which is why it is step one. Step two is called a desktop evaluation. So what happens is an independent source takes the information, they go and they look using the same software that you're using and determine what the after repaired value is based upon a desktop. This isn't getting inside the property or anything else, but basically it's looking for comparables that are like, why didn't we look at these? Or why did you choose this one over this one to really get down to on a desktop level, is this value where it should be? And this is just an initial value. It's based upon the after repaired value, not the current value of the property, comparing it. And then with that, we get details and can go through that and look at it. Now, the third thing that we're going to do is we're going to go through what's called a virtual walkthrough. Virtual walkthrough is where you're going to walk through the property with your general contractor, and you're going to walk through and get a full scope of work of what's going to be done to the property. Now, what determines that scope of work isn't what you want to do or think you should do. It's going to be the comparables that you use to justify that after repaired value. If the comparables are all granite countertops, you're going to need to do granite countertops. If the comparables are all have central air conditioning and yours doesn't, you're going to need central air conditioning. So it's the comparables that determine what has to happen to make that value of the property, because that's what we're justifying against. Also with this, there'll be determinations if additional inspections are needed. For example, if you go down and you see that there's some cracks in the foundation, you may need to get a structural engineer's report. That's going to be determined part of that virtual walkthrough, again, to protect you, to make sure you're not getting yourself into a big problem. Lastly, we're going to go through and put the scope of work together. This is the work that's going to be required on this property in an orderly fashion so that you know what that's going to look like. And then having your contractor come up with prices based upon that scope of work as identified from the walkthrough based upon the comparables. Next, order the on-site evaluation. Next, we're going to order an on-site evaluation or an appraisal on the property. Independent third party is going to go there, make a determination on what the property is going to be worth based upon the scope of work and the pricing that you're saying that work is going to be done based upon those comparables. And then will actually give us a document that shows what those values look like and what that property should sell for in an after repaired status, not an as-is value, but an after repaired status. The other thing they're going to look at is time on market. How long is it really going to take this property to sell if it is in this condition once it's listed? What is the price? What is the time on market going to look like? All right, step 5 is getting that final bid. This is where you get the final prices, you get the final bid. This is also where you're going to have any additional inspections done if they're necessary. Say that there was that foundation concern, getting that foundation inspection done so that you can know this is what it's really going to cost us on this property. Also with this, the general contractor is then going to sign this detailed bid by line item that talks about the work that's going to be performed, the quality of workmanship, what's going to get done, as well as saying the pricing for those things with materials and labor. Then, now that we have all the information as to how much it's really going to cost to fix up the property, what it needs to look like when it's done based upon the comparables, the contractor's bid, the appraisal or site evaluation that establishes the value. Now it's time to do a letter of intent. This letter of intent spells out the terms of everything having to do with the loan. It's given to you for you to sign to then get us ready to go to processing. And processing is where we get title insurance, hazard insurance, and all those things get gathered. Once that's all ready, then we move to the closing table. You'll sign the final loan docs, and then the fun for the rehab begins.